The Glees Gallery had style and class, but very few customers. I couldn't believe it. The pots were marked at 5,000 francs each. As far as I could tell, the pots were almost identical to the one I'd found in Hubier's house.
At that price, are you really surprised that there are so few customers here?
At that price, I wasn't going anywhere near those pots. The wasteland. Too minimalistic for too much money. The girls were in a world of their own. Hi, girls. What's the joke?
あなたはキレてですね。
Okay, fine.
I believe that's a very rough translation of that is you are very pretty or very beautiful. I could be wrong with that, and if I am, please let me know, as my Japanese is non-existent.
Looked like a witch and a headless bust. I had seen better. I didn't think much of any of these artifacts. Rectangles in a desolate landscape, highly cubist. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive. The pots were protected by a glass case. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive. The glass stopped me from picking up the exhibits. Spheres in a barren waste. Oh, very profound. I could see a pattern emerging in this artist's work. It was a machine for reading credit cards. I had no possible use for a credit card reader. It was a sturdy packing case.
Excuse me, sir.
Uh-huh.
That area is private.
Oh, so I'm not allowed back here?
No, sir.
Luckily, George knows how to play dumb.
He looked like an older version of Labano. The same supercilious expression, the same disdain in his eyes, and the same damned ponytail. Are you Mr. Glees, the owner?
Yes, sir. May I help you?
You're English?
These days one prefers to think of oneself as European.
Sure. Whatever you say.
And how precisely may one assist you, sir?
Now, I could make a Brexit joke, but let's just move on.
What I really wanted to ask you about was a black stone.
A black stone?
Yeah, it's a Mayan artifact, about as big as my hand.
No, sir, one doesn't get much call for black stones. If it's Mayan artifacts you're interested in, I have some rather exquisite pots.
Yeah, I noticed. I've already got one of those. I'd like your opinion on this pot.
Interesting. Would sir be interested in selling the article?
That depends. How much would you give me for it?
300? Possible 325?
What? Those other pots are priced at 5,000 francs each.
Yes, but this is clearly the work of an inferior, degenerated culture.
You mean it's English?
Look, why don't you get a second opinion?
From who?
Mr. Lane, the world-renowned art critic and collector.
He's an art critic? I thought there was a carnival in town.
Just give me the $300.
Have you heard of Professor Hubier?
Of course. His name is synonymous with Mayan art. A number of these artifacts were supplied by Hubier himself.
Do you believe the story that Hubier murdered his wife?
If it was true, who can blame him? She was an opportunist tramp. Well, that's what I heard.
Have you seen any of Hubier's wife's films?
Only one. Believe me, I was appalled, shocked, disgusted, and repulsed.
Well, you sure got your money's worth. Last time I went to the movies, I wasn't even titillated. I suppose you have an import license for these relics?
Of course. But that's not my problem, sir. The professor arranges all the shipping. We simply collect the items from the docks.
Could you tell me which docks Professor Oubier uses to import the artifacts?
Good God, no. I can't possibly reveal my commercial secrets.
Do you get many Central American Indians in here?
No, sir. This is Paris. Central America is several thousand kilometers southwest of here. Straight across the Atlantic Ocean and turn left. You can't miss it.
Well, as it happens, I saw some Central American Indians this very morning.
Tourists, sir. Paris is full of them at this time of year.
I have some questions I'd like to ask about those pots.
The Mexican collection? Certainly, sir.
Where did you get them from?
Mexico, of course. I think sir will find the price extremely reasonable.
Hey, I'm not interested in buying them.
Oh, I see. In that case, you'll excuse me.
Wow, okay. All business, no class.
I found this news story referring to a total eclipse of the sun.
Really, sir? Well, fascinating.
It was Lane, the art critic. You're Lane, the critic, aren't you?
Correct. Can't you see I'm busy?
Busy? Doing what?
Appreciating the art. Or depreciating it. I have a reputation to uphold.
I could tell this guy was going to be hard work. Have you heard of Professor Oubier?
Yes, of course.
I was at his house earlier.
If you're going to drop names, you could at least name one worth dropping.
I thought Oubier was a well-respected man.
Why, his last book was nothing but pseudo-intellectual claptrap. The demented ramblings of a drug-dependent has-been.
What's that you're drinking?
I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion it might be urine. Glees can't expect a favorable criticism of his gallery when he serves this muck.
I'd like to give this guy a top-up. Just lower the glass down, please.
Would you give me your opinion on this pot, sir?
Yes. Very rapouche.
Rapouche?
Hideous.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Punch him, George. Just do it.
What's the difference between my pot and all those other pots?
Yours is broken.
Why, you smug, pompous sloth.
Sticks and stones, dear boy, sticks and stones.
You smashed my pot.
Certainly it was not only worthless, it was ugly and offensive.
To you, maybe.
Believe me, I was doing you a favor.
I wasn't going to waste any more breath talking to that pompous blimp. Maybe I could turn the situation to my advantage, and at the same time, get my revenge. A valuable relic of an ancient civilization lay smashed on the floor. The pot had smashed into too many pieces to retrieve. That slob Lane just smashed my Mayan pot.
Yes, he can be rather impulsive.
Impulsive? The man's a hooligan. I bet if it was one of yours, you'd be more concerned. Lane doesn't think much of your choice of wine.
Lost at nerve. The priest who sold it to me said it was a good year.
Right, so we need to provide a distraction. Because we need to get into the back room to check out these labels. And to do that, we must exact our revenge.
The glass was half full of wine. The way that guy was gripping the glass, I'd need a wrench to get away from him.
You can see that Lane is drinking rather excessively and swaying. Now, before I started playing this game again, I was kind of, I wouldn't say worried, but I thought that this puzzle was kind of cruel. But now going back and playing this game again, I don't really have much sympathy over what happens next. So what we need to do is we need to spike his drink. Well, that actually sounds quite bad. We need to wait until he raises it again.
I splashed a little absinthe into the glass and hoped he wouldn't notice the change of color.
Did you put something in my drink?
Yeah, I did. Well, what do you think?
Well, it's certainly an improvement over Gleese's wine. In fact, I could grow to like it.
Well, spiking anyone's drink in whatever context is always bad. But unfortunately, to do this puzzle, we need to spike it again, although he seems to actually like it.
Allow me.
Okay, we got his permission this time. And it seems like Mr. Glees is more interested in his artifacts.
He was out for the count. I wasn't going to waste my breath on that drunkard. Glees wasn't happy, I could tell. Were those pots very valuable?
The pots are insured, but not the shelving. You've no idea how much that cost me.
What a shame.
There was nothing in the case but styrofoam packing, but pasted on the side was the remains of a label. It was a label bearing a company name and logo. Underneath the logo of a flying bird were the words Condor Transglobal Mars. The rest of the label was missing. It was beginning to make sense. Oubier had organized Nico's abduction. Oubier withdrew money from Marseille. Oubier was connected with Transglobal, who shipped their goods from a warehouse in Marseille. That's how the torn Transglobal label had once read. Marseille, not Mars. It wasn't much of a lead, but it was all I had. I set off immediately to catch the evening train. It was almost dawn when I arrived in Marseille. I traced Condor Transglobal to a desolate dockside. It was just a heap of chains and stuff.
Chains can still be useful. Maybe.
There was nothing there I wanted. The barge was empty. It was a rusty old barge. There was a glow of light at the window of the hut. A chain-link fence barred the entrance to the docks.
What's the big idea?
I don't know. The dog went berserk for no apparent reason.
He's trained to do that. The idea is to deter any would-be intruder.
Oh, I get it. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just remember, he's a trained attack dog. A killer.
Hi there.
It was a mean-looking guard dog. Here, boy. The gates were fastened with a heavy-duty padlock. Breaking steel padlocks with my bare hands was a feat I'd never mastered. It was a tall wire mesh fence.
Didn't I tell you to stay away from the fence?
I was nowhere near it. It's that dog. He's crazy.
Hey, mind what you say. He's sensitive to negative criticism.
Wow. We need to buy this guy a bin of some sort.
A shabby old overcoat hung from a peg near the door. I couldn't reach the coat. It was the trapdoor which the slob used as a waste chute, straight into the sea. I couldn't reach it from outside the hut. It was a large bucket filled with coal. It was an old iron stove which heated the hut and the watchman's dinner. I couldn't reach that far.
Don't you just love that sound?
It was a packet with a picture of a boxer dog on the front. I couldn't reach the packet. It was a filthy, stained coffee mug. I couldn't reach the cup. It was an old, blackened kettle. I couldn't reach the kettle. Something was bubbling in the watchman's saucepan. I couldn't reach that far. It was a box of blank forms. The box contained nothing but blank forms. The spike held a stack of papers which appeared to be shipping documents. None of them referred to Condor Transglobal.
Ouch! Gotcha! That'll learn you to leave things alone. Do you know what time it is?
No, I don't wear a watch. As my dad used to say, I'm not into time, man.
Well, you're too early.
What time is it anyhow?
The big hand's on the floor. Why aren't you in bed?
I can explain everything.
Never mind, I ain't that interested.
What time do you open the gates?
7.
Do you mind if I hang out here till the docks open?
Please yourself, but you'll have a long wait. It's Sunday, and tomorrow is the start of the national holiday. Everything is closed for a month.
Well, wouldn't you just know it?
Good timing, George.
Does that dog belong to you?
Nah, he comes with the job. I just feed him every now and then.
More then than now, I'd say. What's the dog's name?
20.
It's unusual for a dog.
It's his registration number. Security dog number 20.
Does number 20 have rabies?
Nah, just a bad attitude. Like I said, he's a trained attack dog. They took him when he was a puppy and messed with his head to make him the way he is.
Ever heard of Condor Transglobal?
Sure, they have a warehouse here.
Well, could I take a look?
Not until after the holidays. Come back in a month.
Yeah, we can't do that.
I have to make a delivery to Condor Transglobal.
Where's your rig?
About half a mile down the road.
And you walked here? Jeez, are you some kind of nut?
Nah, it was easy. I just put one foot in front of the other. Are you gonna let me make my delivery?
Not without the paperwork. You get the papers, you make your delivery, and I get a fat backhander.
I was getting nowhere with the story about being a trucker. Do you know what kind of business Condor's involved in?
I'm paid to guard the gate. Their business is none of mine.
I'm looking for a young woman.
At the docks? What kind of woman do you have in mind?
You don't understand. It's my girlfriend I'm trying to find.
Well, I ain't seen her, and you should tell her. The docks ain't no place for a young lady. They're dirty and they're dangerous.
I'm certain my girlfriend was brought here when she was abducted.
What? Your girl was kidnapped?
Yeah. Struck down by an Indian with a poisoned dart.
A poison dart, huh?
I could tell he didn't believe me. I have these very exotic panties.
Take them away, you pervert!
Why? What's wrong with them?
Have you ever heard of Professor Ubier?
Me? None of my friends are professors or anything like that.
What's cooking?
Beans. You know a man can live on nothing but beans.
Not this one. Don't you ever get tired of eating beans?
Sure I do. What do you take me for?
And what's the alternative?
Peas. I can't eat them too often, though. They play hell with my digestion.
Surely you can buy something other than beans and peas?
Have you ever considered changing your diet?
What's wrong with beans and beer?
You need me to tell you? You're pumping out enough methane here to fill a dirigible. This is the dart that the Indians shot at my girlfriend.
Sheesh. That's pretty weird, but I don't see why you'd expect to find her here.
Yeah, that's the second time that very dated term has been used. I don't really know what I can say about that, to be honest.
Take a look at this letter.
That's sick. Did you write it?
Oh, no. No, it's a letter from my girlfriend's admirer.
If I was you, I'd smack him in the mouth.
Well, that's not my style, but thanks for the advice.
No, that is very good advice.
I gotta go now, but I'll be back.
Can't wait.
The chimney was a metal pipe with a conical hat on top to stop the rain getting in. Ouch! That's hot. A short stick of wood floated near the edge of the landing stage. The stick had a hook on one end. I figured it was a boat hook for hooking boats.
Well, yeah. I'm sure it can hook other things as well.
Bobbing up and down in the oily water was the watchman's discarded beer bottle. The bottle was just out of reach. Nothing was going to get me into that water if I could help it. It was a short wooden-handled boat hook. It was the label I'd found in the Glees Gallery. I just knew that boat hook would be useful for something. As for the bottle, even if I couldn't find a use for it, I'd cleaned up the dock a little.
That is always a good thing.
It was the beer bottle that slob of a watchman had dumped in the sea, now half full of filthy dock water. The label read, "Surge, the beer that clears your head."
And probably the contents of your stomach as well.
The platform was held up by a hinged bracket. I couldn't figure out what it was for. Maybe it was part of a structure which no longer existed. My arms weren't long enough to reach the platform.
Well, the dog is right next to the platform, but not actually on the platform. We did see some dog biscuits in the hut. So we need to find a way to get those biscuits and hopefully set up a trap for the dog.
Hey, 20.
I believe it gives the same description, so I'm just going to replace it for now.
The watchman was big and bulgy, like a sack of potatoes. His flushed and bloated face wore a sleepy, amiable expression.
Nice.
Excuse me?
Huh? Who's there?
Ouch. Are you okay there, George? We need to flush this guy out of this hut so we can rummage around his belongings. And to do that, we need to block up his chimney.
The bottle was half filled with water. Maybe it would cool the cone down enough to touch it. Now I could see into the pipe which formed the chimney. It was the metal cone I'd taken from the chimney of the watchman's hut.
And this bottle will come in use again now, as we can use it to block the chimney.
The bottle had blocked the chimney, and the hut was filling up with smoke. Is something wrong?
Something wrong? I nearly choked to death.
Why don't you get some air? Take a long walk along the pier. I could stay here and watch the gate.
Oh no. You'd be through that gate as soon as my back was turned.
With that crazy dog around? Someday I hope to have kids. I wouldn't have considered wearing it if it had been the last coat on Earth. Someone had once told me a piece of coal brought you luck. Who was I to argue with irrational superstition? Baked beans in ketchup. Yow! Stove equals heat, heat equals burn, burn equals excruciating pain.
I'm surprised this guy did not come back in here. I'm sure he would have heard that.
The packet was full of dog biscuits. I couldn't think of one good reason to steal the watchman's kettle. That mug was a health risk. I decided to leave it where it was.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Get the hell out of here.
Okay, just hold on to that dog.
Well, hopefully he has sorted that problem out now. There's no reason to go back in there.
It was the box of biscuits I'd taken from the watchman's hut. Gourmet dog. The snack your dog would bake himself. Sure, as if I'd let a stupid dog loose in the kitchen. There was a cute picture of a boxer dog wearing oven mittens. It was my lucky piece of coal. Hey, 20. Come and get it, boy. I felt a slight twinge of conscience as I prepared to give the dog a dunking. It soon passed. As I'd expected, the dog could swim like a dog.
You can't blame a dog for how it was trained. And I'd like to believe that the dog found somewhere to get out.